It appears that we may be live. Hi. Now, hopefully, we're live. I'm not sure what's happening at the moment. I'm trying to see on here. And hopefully, yes, hopefully we're all live. Now, yeah, good evening. How are you doing? This is the first time I've tried a proper live stream on this. I've finally got my computer working. I've got my Pocket Pro 3 in front of me, done up as a webcam. I am well, thank you very much. Oh, thank you very much. Now, I am going to have to admit I'm slightly blind at the minute. I'm getting old and 40. But I've got the first one through. Yes, good evening. Hi, Matthew. Hi, I can't pronounce that name. I'm really sorry I can't pronounce that name. It's Trader. Hi, how are you doing? Good to see you all online. This is a bit of a test to see how it goes. We're also the first live stream, and hopefully it's going to be the first of many. I'm going to try and do this as a regular thing because it gives me a chance to actually speak to you as friends. Oh yes, I'm on the TV over there, and I'm in front of my iPad here as well. I think it's about a 22 second delay from anything I say to anything I do. So really good to see you on the channel tonight. I've got 3 people viewing at the moment. I think, is that right? 3 people viewing. Stream settings. Viewer activity. Let's have a look at viewer activity. What does it say on here? There's all sorts of things on here we can see. 13 concurrent viewers. Hi, how are you doing? I have got my little iPad here, and I'm going to keep on looking at that every so often. So tonight, as I say, it's a bit of a test, but I've also decided I want to do this as a bit of a Q&A session, just to find out what you would like to know. I get a lot of questions amongst the comments on the channel, and sometimes I can answer them, sometimes I can't. One thing that I've said many times on the channel is I'm not a definitive source of information. Anything I say is from the experience I've picked up, and it's from direct experience, and I'll tell you when that's at. So if you're coming in, for instance, and you have a European passport, an EU passport, I can tell you what my experiences were like firsthand on that. If you ask me about my experiences coming in as a British citizen, I can't because I didn't go down that route. But I've got some good ideas from talking to a lot of people. And the other thing is, I'll say on this, whatever I say on this channel, go get professional advice. Always get professional advice. That's the best way to do it. Hello from Scotland. Which part of Scotland? I'm just seeing these comments coming up on the side, so I'm looking over there. Look at the side there. Which part of Scotland are you in? Do you know, there's things I'm going to miss about the UK being over in Cyprus, and one of them is Scotland. I live 10 miles south of the Scottish border, so I live in England 10 miles south of the Scottish border when I'm in the UK. That's where my house is, in the UK, plus just outside Carlisle. And I adore Scotland. I've lived in Scotland a couple of times. I had grandparents who were at Helensburgh. I've got a cousin who lives up in Inverness. And I've also lived in the Outer Hebrides, as has my sister. And yeah, I adore Scotland, especially when you get north of the sort of centre line, the Antonine Wall sort of area between Glasgow and Edinburgh. Once you get above that, further north than that, you get into some amazing places up in the Scottish Highlands. So just have a look on here. English born, living in Scotland. Hi, Diane. Planning to move to Cyprus later this year. Again, which part of Scotland are you in? You're in North East Scotland. I'm guessing up towards probably Aberdeen sort of area, I guess, if you're in North East Scotland. We took the caravan up there and did a full tour around Scotland. We didn't do the 500. I will not take the caravan around the NC 500. But we took the caravan up into Scotland, and it was the first time my wife had really hit northern Scotland. And all we can remember is going further and further north and thinking, wow. Every time we went a little few miles further forward, it was wow, wow. So, 3 hours to Inverness. 3 hours to Inverness. Oh, goodness, you are quite high up north. Near Aberdeen, yeah. Hi, Dan. Living in France, born in London, planning to move to Cyprus later this year. If you're living in France, I'm not sure if you're going to be coming in, if you've got residency in France but not citizenship. It's an interesting thing on that. because the residency doesn't necessarily get you in as an EU citizen into Cyprus. If you have a French passport, or if you have a European passport, it's an awful lot easier. So yeah, it'd be interesting to know how your journey goes, Diane. I am going to be drinking a cup of coffee as well as I go because I'm parched at the minute. I bought myself one of those Nespresso machines a couple of weeks ago, and I'm really quite impressed with it. Really am quite impressed with it. I'm just looking at what we've got here. It's all a little bit scary, this technology. I used to do quite a few live streams on my Micro Four Thirds Guide channel, the other channel that I've got. And they were very, very successful, really enjoyed doing them. The problem I had is all that gear, all my desktop computer and everything that I had is still back in the UK. It's not going to be coming out here. So I've got my little laptop, and up until tonight, I couldn't get it to recognize the camera at all. And it works out, I put DaVinci, which is a video editing software, onto the computer, and that stuffed everything up. I've taken it all off tonight, and it's actually fantastic. It's working well. If there are any comments, please leave them in the comments section at the side. I'm really interested to residents, you've seen that, residence not citizenship, going on a pink slip, moving your business over here. That's interesting on that. I was chatting to a couple today who've moved there, or they haven't moved their business yet, they're in the process of moving their business over here on a pink slip as well. And really nice couple, and I was fascinated to hear how their progress is going. The one thing I'm finding is there is no one size fits all. I'll give you an example on this one. As I say, I've come over as an Irish citizen, so I have an EU passport, an EU citizenship as an Irish citizen. But people have been asking me for advice. Why don't you give advice? Why don't you, commit to some advice? Are you scared to give that? Well, partly I am scared because I don't want to lead anybody down the garden path. But also, even with somebody else who would have an Irish passport coming over here, their circumstances could be very, very different to mine. So even though we've got effectively the same citizenship to get in, or residency to get in, it's a very different thing. Their financial situation could be very different. Their work situation could be very different. So even when it looks like everything's the same, you've got to take your own personal circumstances into account. And that really is vitally important. Hi Sue, hi from Yorkshire, coming out next week to hopefully look at some rentals, planning to move across April time. Let's see, that'll be the sort of time I moved across. I moved across probably on the 1st of April last year. I think it's a very sensible thing to do rentals first. I'm going to rent the whole time. I'm not going to buy a house over here. I've decided that. Even if I sell the house in the UK, even if my son moves out and I sell the house, I think I'm too long in the tooth age-wise to be buying properties over here. But even if you are planning on buying a property, I think rent a house for a year, get yourself sorted out your residency, get all those things sorted out. It's a very straightforward way to do it. And it gives you the opportunity to actually take your time and see some of the places. I'm living in Universal, just out on the outskirts of Paphos, the town part of Paphos itself. And at the moment, I'm very comfortable. I like the house I'm in, except it's echoey. You'll be able to hear on the microphone, it's very echoey. But I'm very much into the idea that this may not be where we eventually settle down. I'm 64, I've got some health issues. My wife has some health issues with her knees, and things like the staircase here. As we get older, staircase are going to be a bigger problem. So we may look towards a bungalow at some point, and renting means you can easily do it. If you buy a house, then have to try and sell it and move on and all the legal fees and everything like that. It's too much for me. So I'm going to be renting. Even if I sell my house in the UK, it just gives me more money that I can be comfortable with over here. They're coming in thick and fast. Okay. I have a used passport. I'm planning to move to Cyprus in July. Everything is booked already. Oh, be good to see you over here. I'm presuming you're probably looking towards Paphos. Not necessarily, because I know that people do come across here, and even though they watch my Path to Paphos videos, it's more about coming to Cyprus than it is necessarily about coming to Paphos itself. So yeah, it's a straightforward thing to come across if you have an EU passport. I would still get some help on it, I will still get somebody professional. They can talk you through, and they've got the contacts. They can get the contacts in to get you into the residency office and get you through easily. And it's not expensive, especially if you're an EU citizen. It's not an expensive journey. I think mine cost me €200 plus the price of the yellow slip, which I think was about €20, and my health insurance. So it didn't cost a great deal on that one, and it took a lot of the strain away from me. Diane, using a reputable lawyer to avoid mistakes costs a bit, but saves anxiety. Yes, absolutely. Still be careful that you're getting the right person, and still don't be afraid to question what they say. Just because the lawyer says that something's that case. I had an issue with the when I came over here, because I didn't want to have a Cypriot bank account, and yet the slip of paper I got from the people I use, which was Gwynny's Red Tape Services, no problems on them, by the way, but it said on the bottom that you needed 3 months statements from a Cypriot bank account, and I didn't have a Cypriot bank account, and at the time, although now I'm of a different sort of viewpoint, but at the time I didn't want to have a Cypriot bank account opened up, and although it said on the form, in actual fact, I didn't need that. I still don't have a Cypriot bank account at the moment. So it is worth questioning why something's being done, what the purpose of all the paperwork is. There'll be a reason for it, but it is worth questioning. And sometimes there isn't a reason. Sometimes it's just a general sheet, which is a cover-all, a catch-all. Diane saying that, do you agree? Wouldn't buy, too many question marks. It's got better. They changed the law a couple of years ago insofar as the title deeds of the house, because there was a few scams about loans and securing loans from the builders and things, where the title deeds didn't get released to the people who actually owned the house in the end, because they were still being used as a guarantor for something else, for the next project. That was blocked a couple of years ago, but there's still an awful lot of people in the trap where they don't have the title deeds. So it is well worth being very careful on that one. And again, when you are doing a property, make sure you get a really good, reputable lawyer who knows the Cypriot law. And that's the important thing. They've got to know the Cypriot system. And it's not the same as elsewhere. It is quite unique to this place. Clorica for a start. Clorica, I like Clorica actually. It's nice. That's where I got my car from, up there. It's quite a decent place to live. There's an awful lot of amenities up there. So yes, I think it's a good place to start. Ignore any pings. My phone's over there and I'm not going to stand up to get it. Yeah. So, Farmer Boy 7, hi Brian. Landing in about 3 months. Any chatter on how long from arriving it's taken to get down with Cyprus immigration generally? Again, with me being an EU passport, an EU citizen, it took me, I actually dawdled at first. I didn't go straight in for it. So I arrived on the 1st of April. My first real day was the 2nd of April. And I went round to Gwynny's and got things started, but I didn't get them really started for getting on for a month. So it was getting towards the end of April, beginning of May. And I got my residency, my MEU1 as an EU citizen on the 17th of June. So it was about a month and a half for me. It can take longer if you're coming in on a pink slip. Once you come in on the pink slip, it does put the block on the 90-day issue. So you don't panic. A lot of people panic and think, oh, it's not come through yet. My 90 days is almost up. Don't worry about that. That's taken into account once you start the process. But yeah, it can take a little while. And again, why I'm not giving total advice on this is there's so many different ways of coming in. I've got friends who've come in on a golden visa, so they've bought a house, a new build house for €300,000 plus VAT. They've got to have so much coming in, about €50,000 a year coming in. There's other people who come in on the pink slip, the retirement sort of thing, where it's a 1-year residency, which has to be renewed every year for the first 5 years. And that can take different amount of time to come through. As I say, if you're coming in as an EU citizen on an MEU1, that's what I'm coming at, it's different. So it's very, very difficult to say how long it's going to take without knowing what your full circumstances are. But generally, I found the immigration process to be fairly straightforward. They want a huge amount of paperwork though. If you are coming over, one of the best bits of very, very serious advice I can give you, and I mean very serious advice, and this is guaranteed. Come across with a computer of some kind, either an iPad or a laptop or something like that, and when you get across here, if you haven't brought a printer, buy one. Buy one on day one. Buy a computer printer on day one so that you can print paperwork out. Buy a couple of spare print cartridges at the same time, and and a couple of reams of paper. The amount of paper which is asked for is unbelievable. And the best thing I did was buy a printer and a couple of spare print cartridges. It was crazy. So if that is serious, genuine advice, not just opinion, get it. Make sure you got somewhere to get hold of your accounts and things, and print them all out. Okay, Matthew, we are out in March to explore some rental options. Hopefully we can get something sorted before the end of summer and start the process, and hopefully be in Cyprus by Christmas. It's fairly straightforward once you get the ball rolling. It's incredibly quick that you can get out here. So yeah, you probably will be well out before Christmas. I think as well, Matthew, have you messaged me? I think you messaged me about a meetup, getting together for a coffee. So if you have, yeah, give me a shout when you get across here, please. Sufi, is that Fenny or Feeney? I tell you, I've got my glasses here, and I'm going to have to start putting them on a little bit. How's that? Never seen me in glasses, have you? Not much better. Sue Fenny, it looks like. Pink slip route for us. Yep, it's fairly straightforward. There's a lot of people come on the pink slip route. And again, do get some help. But it is straightforward. One thing I would say just before you come out, not too far before you come out, because I believe it's time limited, but if you're married and you're coming out and you get your marriage certificate apostilled. You can do that. It's a service that you can get. It's basically a guarantee that the document is accurate. But if you got that, it makes things so much easier once you come across an apostilled document for your marriage certificate, because that is something they demand. They don't just take the marriage certificate itself. It has to be apostilled for it to be worth it. But if you've got that done in the UK before you come out, it costs. I think it's only about £40 or something like that. But it is well worth doing. Diane, you were renting outside the town of Larnaca in a small suburb called Kitty. It's got basic amenities. We really like Larnaca for the friendly atmosphere. Larnaca is the only one of the big cities, apart from flying in and out of, it's only one of the big places that I've never actually been to properly. I must take a trip across to Larnaca. Limassol we used to holiday in a lot. Limassol is incredibly different to what it was when we used to come in the 90s though. Ayia Napa we've been to a couple of times, Nicosia I've been to a couple of times, but Larnaca I've only ever got off the plane or got on the plane there. And I think what put me off is a petrol refinery, an oil refinery on the outskirts. And when we first came across here, we got off the plane late at night to go to Ayia Napa, and I remember I was almost physically sick with the smell of the petroleum smell in the atmosphere. And I think that put me off Larnaca. But there's an awful lot of people who I've spoken to, had cups of coffee with and things, who report about that Larnaca is somewhere really, really nice, and they've considered. So I think you could be a winner, especially if you've been there and you know what it's like. Right, John Rice 3742. Hi Brian, when is your wife and dogs joining you? You're looking healthy. The country looks to be doing you good for your health. Cheers, Ricey. Oh, Sangborn Free and Marika and me, but right. Hello, John. Yes, yeah. When his wife, okay, I've not put this out the main channel and the main videos. It becomes a little bit of it actually becomes a little bit complicated and misleading. I'm saying it on. I'll tell you the score is. We got permission from the landlord for the dogs to come across. That's great. My 1 year is up at the end of March, so my tenancy is up at the end of March. We want to extend into another year with the landlord. We think the house is fabulous. We love the location. We love the property itself. So I got in touch with the landlord before Christmas, and we got the okay to bring the dogs over. We have two cockapoos, a 12-and-a-half-year-old and one which will be 4 next month. And we got the okay for those to come across. Unfortunately, my wife, I think I've said just about the whole way through this this situation where the channel's been going almost, my wife tore a meniscus, tore a cartilage in her knee. Getting on for almost 2 years ago now, and certainly over a year and a half. She's gone through hell on it. She used to enjoy walking. She'd walk for miles. She's been struggling, really struggling in the UK. The meniscus has healed itself up, but she's had other problems. And the plan was to try and get her out in March, before it gets too hot for the dogs. Unfortunately, she'll not be coming out permanently in March. That's off the books now. The reason is she had an operation a week and a day ago. Week ago yesterday. She had an operation on her knee. It looks to have gone successful, but that's precluded her from coming out straight away after that. She is going to come out and visit in March. She comes out every 4 to 6 weeks normally. There's been a big gap this time. But we're hoping that this is going to be the change on her knee. It's been debilitating for her, but also it's been mentally debilitating because it's just sapped her confidence and sapped her enjoyment of life, having the knee injury. So we're hoping, they didn't find anything big inside, but they give it a good clean out. So we're hoping that that's going to give her the quality of life back. That causes a bit of a problem though, because a lot of people have said, bring the dogs over, even in the summer, they'll acclimatise easy enough. Yeah, don't worry about that, but we do. The dogs, I say this to a lot of people, we don't have pets. The dogs aren't like family. They are family. They're not pets to us, they're part of our family. And the older one, the 12.5-year-old one, he's in good condition for his age, but he is 12.5 years old. And we've made a decision between the two of us, irrespective of what our wants and needs are, the dogs are going to come first. And if it's much beyond sort of April, May time before we can get anything sorted out, we will postpone Sue coming out further. Monetarily wise, it helps us anyway, because Sue will still be working in the UK, so pulling in a wage, because when she comes out here, she's not going to be working. But the idea is we're not going to bring the dogs out in the heat of the summer, irrespective of whether people say we can or not. We're not going to risk it. We couldn't live with ourselves if we hurt the dogs in any way, shape or form. So if that's the case, it's going to be put back to the end of the summer, probably September, October time, when the temperature starts dropping again. But there's no rush. We've got ourselves sorted. The status quo at the moment is very, very workable. We see each other every day, unless Sue's working, we see each other every day on Messenger, on FaceTime video. We probably talk more now than we used to when we were at home with each other. And Sue will be coming out in March for a small break. So, yeah, thanks very much for everybody who has been asking after her. It really is appreciated. But things are up in the air, but life isn't bad. You know, life really isn't too bad on this. The summer's going to be coming in the UK, so it's going to be better for Sue. It gives my son a bit of a break from having to pay the full rent for us, which will save him some of his money. But it means that we are just living as we are going, and it's not a big problem. It's nice having a house in both countries. I probably won't be able to get back to the UK because once the season starts, I'm going to be singing several times a week. But for Sue, there's a house here. The flights aren't too expensive. If you can get some of the cheap flights, she'll fly Ryanair or Jet2 or TUI or EasyJet, whatever gets her across the easiest. She can fit it in between her shifts. There's a house here. She doesn't have to worry about bringing big baggage. And she's, you know, we've got the car. She can do what she likes on that. So it's going to be fairly easy going on that one. So yeah, hopefully before the summer, but more likely after the summer. Sue, good advice for really the computer printer. It's something I wish I'd thought of before. I ended up having to go out and buy a printer. And to be honest, I don't think I would bring a printer across unless I was bringing all my furniture. I came over with very, very little. Most of my stuff stay in the UK. We're not bringing furniture, big furniture over. If you're bringing a lot of goods over, stick the printer in, that's fine. If you're just going to come over fairly light, don't even bother bringing the printer. They're not that expensive, printers aren't. The expensive part is ink, and that's the same as in the UK. And a criminal record apostle. Yeah, that's an interesting thing for me because as an EU citizen, I didn't have to have a criminal record check. I didn't have to have a police check because I'm not classed as a third nation citizen. So for me, because we've got the free movement, for me to get my residency, I didn't have to have a criminal record check. But if you are coming over on a pink slip, definitely, because you have to have it. It's not a CRB, well, a DBS they call them now. It used to be a CRB, Criminal Record Bureau. It's now a Direct Vetting Bureau. I think direct barring. Is it direct barring service or something like that? Whatever it is, DBS. That doesn't count. You've got to have a different police check, but that has to be the form you get from that has to be apostle. So yes, absolutely right. Farmer Boy 7 for all. Acro, that's the thing. Acro, £75 with an extra certificate if you want to get one, and around another 50 to get the stamp from the Foreign Office. Online forms easy to navigate and returned in decent time. So the Acro is the criminal check that you have to have if you're coming over on the pink slip. Hope you guys feeling better. Send the hugs to her. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I shall pass that on to her. In actual fact, she hasn't been in much pain. She had keyhole surgery, and apart from discomfort, she hasn't been in much pain. She's driving again already. She's off work for about 4 weeks. But I think already her mindset seems to be a little bit better. While we've got a little bit of a break in some of the things, if you have any questions that you've got, please, I know we had a couple there, please let me know. I did get a couple of questions which I pulled offline in my super compact notepad. Why didn't I write it on a small? I've got a little jotter pad, one of these little secretary's notepads. Why do I write it on a great big A4 one? Never mind. So I got asked on these, there's a couple of questions I've been asked, so in case you're interested, why don't you review restaurants, hotels and bars? Very simple. I enjoy food. I'm not a great connoisseur of fine dining, shall we say. Some people are, and that's wonderful for them. I'm not. So for me, I would probably say that most of the venues are pretty good. It's got to be fairly bad food before I really have a go at it. Make sure it doesn't fall in my coffee cup. But my opinion on something, I'm not a great drinker. I do drink alcohol, but I'm not a great one. I don't go in the pub very often in the UK. And in the bars over here, I go in for a different reason. If I'm in a bar, then it's generally to do with trying to get some work as a singer. Trying to assess somewhere like that is difficult. And a lot of these places, it's down to the atmosphere of the people in there. And if I was to go in on a night where there's not some of the regulars and whatever, then I could give them a bad name, but who am I to judge them? Hotels, again, I haven't stayed in enough hotels to be able to judge. And maybe this sounds a little bit snobby. I'd rather pay extra money and go to a good quality hotel than a lower one. So I generally wouldn't look at a 3-star hotel over here. I'd be looking at 4.5, 5.5 star hotels. That sounds snobbish. It's not. I'd rather spend the extra money and have that little bit of an advantage in the hotel. The trouble is, how do I then assess other hotels when I do have that sort of bar that I've set? So for me, I just don't think it's fair on the venues. Also, as been pointed out, and it's not necessarily something that was in my mindset, but it has been pointed out, what do I get from it? You get a free meal. Well, if I get a free meal, then there's a bias there. So I'm not going to go into somewhere and they're going to give me 20, 30, 50 euros worth of meal and then say that was atrocious, because I have an obligation to a degree on that. So I'm very wary on there. But the other thing is, if I do a nice thing on my channel and say, this is wonderful, this place is great, and they get 20% more custom because of it, they've had free advertising on me, and I struggle still to make some money for myself, and they're pulling coinage in. It's an interesting concept. Having said that, if there's somewhere where I do enjoy going, then I will say I enjoy going there. So it's different. But that's not a review. So that's why I don't tend to do reviews on venues such as bars, hotels and restaurants. Um, okay, somebody's put down here, I put some comments up and you deleted them. Right, deleting comments. Deleting comments. Some I don't actually delete. There is an automatic system on YouTube, and if it deems, and sometimes I can't actually understand why it deems it to be inappropriate, but the little algorithms that they've got will deem some message be inappropriate and will hold them back. Sometimes I can go in there and tick them, and that will put a tick and say that it's acceptable, and then it'll display. However, there's some, and it's strange. There's some where you can see somebody's used foul language. They put inappropriate links and things in, which I don't allow through either. But sometimes there'll be something which doesn't seem to have any problems in whatsoever. Yet if I tick it, it'll make it live, and within seconds it's already barred it again. And there's just no way I can actually make those ones live. So sometimes it's done by that. However, through the time I've been here, I've done a couple of videos about the bad comments. I tend to block people. I believe that they can still see the channel, but they can't make comments on it and can't be seen on it. But I tend to block people if they do inappropriate things. And one of the things I was getting, because of what's going on with Israel and Palestine, I had an awful lot of anti-Israeli comments. Now, I don't take a side in that. There was a war going on, and it's, you know, whenever there's a war or a war zone, it's horrendous. People suffer in those, and we can throw stones from the outside, verbally, you know, figuratively, as to who's to blame on this, that, and the other. And it's a very easy trait in the Western world that we can just look at somewhere which is at war and make instant judgments. We have it with Russia and Ukraine. I had a few sort of comments about Russians and a few comments about Ukrainians. I have Russians and Ukrainians living on the compound where I am, perfectly happy with each other, getting on wonderfully. So the wars are elsewhere, and it's just a decision I made. This channel isn't about making huge political statements, isn't about making statements as to one side of a conflict or another, a conflict I'm not involved in. This is about coming to Cyprus and enjoying life. So any time there's been comments like that, I've just deleted them. I can't be bothered with that. And even on the political comments I've made, I am quite a political animal in myself. But I've made a couple of videos where I said I'm disappointed about those. But even myself, I keep the politics out of it as much as I possibly can, because it's just not worth it. This is about coming to a beautiful island, having a new life over here, and letting the world go by, and that's it. There's enough political commentary online. So that's why there's a lot of these get deleted. Final one, why don't you make more walking videos? Oh, why don't I make more walking videos? Anybody who's met me, you see on this channel actually, you very rarely see me, I'm sorry, I just banged the microphone. You very rarely see me down below there, because this isn't too bad. Down below there is this huge sort of whale-like torso. I'm overweight, I'm under fitness, I've got some medical conditions. I'm very open about it. I just don't like to make a big thing online about it. But you know, people who meet me, they know what I'm like. But it also makes it very, very difficult to do a walking video with one of these little Pocket Pros or an action camera, because first of all, it's sort of bouncing all over the place, because I limp. I walk with a limp. I've had a hip replacement. I've got arthritis in my other leg, so you're bouncing around the place. I can't walk like a young guy does, and not only that, I get out of breath quite easy. So you've got this bouncing sort of heavy breathing. Welcome to Path To Paphos. It's just no good. So yes, that's why I don't do any of the walking videos. The other thing at the moment is, we did touch on it earlier on about Sue not being here. And I'm in a bit of a catch-22 situation. I did a couple of videos. I did one about going to Troodos last year. I did one going through, on the way back from Troodos, through all the burnt areas after the fires. We also went up to the Blue Lagoon and did a video on there. That's because Sue was with me, and one of the things I'm looking forward to Sue coming out is we can go off and find these places and share them as a couple. We've been married 37 years, it'll be 38 years this year. We've been together a long time, and this adventure is ours. It's not just mine. And one of the things I don't want to be doing is going to a lot of these places on my own. I want to be going with Sue. I want to be sharing those experiences for the first time with her. And if I do go up on my own, when she eventually comes across and she goes, oh, shall we go to so-and-so? And if I've already been there, I'm going to either do one or two things. I'm going to say, oh, no, you won't like that. Well, not bother. No, you don't want to go there. Or if it's somewhere I like, oh, yeah, it'll be wonderful. I suddenly become the instant boring tour guide who tells her everything before she gets there. So a lot of the places I'm not going to at the moment, I know I've got the opportunities, you know, being on the island and I've got the car and I can go, but I just want to do it with my wife and I want to have those experiences as shared first-time experiences for the two of us. So there's a lot of places I'm not going on out to at the moment. So again, some of the walking videos, it's like that. One of the things I am thinking about doing is getting a drone. I was talking to my friend Jerry tonight, and I've got another colleague coming out next week, which would be interesting. He's bringing his drone out. I have thought about getting a drone because that would actually allow people to see some of the places and enjoy them without necessarily doing the heavy duty walking. Let me know what you think. Should I get a drone? I'm looking at a DJI Mini 4 or 5, or maybe one of the little Neos. It would be very nice if DJI was to sponsor me. I've got so much DJI gear and I love what it is. So yeah, see that there. Let's see what we've got here. John 035 saying, go on, Brian. For my boys 60, for my boys 67. That's 60. I told you I can't see. Even with the glasses on, I can't see. I found as I'm getting older, my eyes get very tired in the evenings. Right, what have we got here? Got quotes to export a 5-year-old Vauxhall, looking at options. So do you know of anyone who has shipped their thoughts on buying the less than cheap second-hand vehicles in Cyprus? I've been talking to a lot of people actually about cars, because obviously I was going to bring my Mercedes across. You don't say if the Vauxhall is a diesel or a petrol. And if it's if it's older than 5 years, then the rules change as well. Okay, you get people who say, and again, please check with somebody knowledgeable properly. Don't take this as God as God given as right. However, in your first year of new residency over here, you can import a vehicle over 5 years old. It's a lot of it. As far as I know, you can actually, even if you've been over here longer, but the duty changes, and we're talking about without paying the extra duty. So in your first year, so long as you've had the vehicle, I believe, for 6 months in the UK, and that means having your V5, your logbook, in your name for at least 6 months. So long as you've had the vehicle for at least 6 months in the UK, you can import it in. The people to speak to are people like CCS in Pear or Peter Morton. I know a few people who've used Peter Morton for the vehicles to come across. They can give you the guide. They'll send you a guidance out of everything you need on it. So if it's over 5 years old, you can bring it in. For more classic cars, and I'm not sure what the age limit is, I think maybe about 25 or 30 year olds. Again, don't quote me on that. Then they can come in as classic cars, and there's different restrictions on for that. If you have a diesel car over 5 years old, for instance, a Mercedes, I did quite a lot of research, and the road tax on that, because it's done on the emissions, can be horrendous, absolutely unbelievably horrendous. I did a lot of looking into this, so be careful, do your homework first. If it's less than 5 years old, it's straightforward to bring in. It's very, very easy. It's a much more simple process. There's a couple of ways to bring it over. You can do it on a roll-on, roll-off. That is basically the car, not much else. I don't think you can have anything particularly in the car. You can put it into a container. If you've got in a container, you can bring other things in with it, and you can load the car up within reason. You know, you can't pack it to the gunnels because you're still going to be able to drive the car in and out of the container at both ends, because it goes in through customs. So it has to be able to be unloaded from the container, so you can't be silly on it. But it is a fairly straightforward thing to do. It can take a little while. Once you get it over here, you have to pay, there's certain registrations and things that you have to pay on it, and then you get the car registered for its Cypriot plates as well, and gets a logbook issued and a registration number. But basically, the best thing, talk to CCS or Peter Morton. They do this by the score. They do it every day of the week, and they know what they're doing. There's other ones around Cyprus. They're the ones that I know of. but I would possibly say be aware. There's actually a friend of mine is moving off the island, and they've got a car which is for sale. New cars tend to be quite reasonable price. You can get a new car very easily, but second-hand cars do tend to be a little bit more expensive. Having said that, second-hand cars over here, very little rust. They'll last for years. You see so many older cars on the roads over here. And also people will buy a new car and tend to keep it a long time. In the UK, we get cars and they're gone in you've replaced it every 2 years and things. Over here, it does tend to be that people will buy a vehicle and can keep it a long time, which means that cars, when they do come on the market, there's less second-hand cars available, especially smaller ones. But of them, they do tend to hold the price very well. Personally, looking at it now, I don't, unless it was a car less than 5 years old, I don't know if I'd actually be bringing it in, unless it was particularly special to you. You can get some good cars. The little Nissan I've got at the back. I say in the UK, I've got a great big 3-litre V6 Mercedes. It's an old car. Don't get me wrong. It's an older car with racing rust on the wheel arches and the nice brown trim around the silver. But apart from the fact it's a 4-wheel drive vehicle, I don't think I need anything that big. A lot of people get Japanese cars over here. I think Kia is now the biggest selling brand over here as well. Up until recently, it was difficult to get parts for Kias and Hyundais, but now Kia seems to be the biggest selling brand. Honda certainly, Toyotas, Nissans, Mazdas, you see them in abundance over here. Some of the German cars, the Audis, VWs, a lot of Mercedes, huge amount of Mercedes. So yeah, there's a lot of cars over here, but it depends on what you want to do and the age of the car. And you're going to be spending a good few £1,000 bringing it across as well. Where are we? Keith, hello, Keith. Hi, Brian. DJI Mini 4 would be a good choice for a drone. Thanks, Keith. Yeah, you've got one, I believe, haven't you? Yeah. I don't know how much I'm going to use it, though. That's the only problem. That's where I was maybe looking at the Neo. The problem with the Neo is I'm worried about stability, and when it's a little bit windy, I've got a feeling that you might have quite a few days where you just can't fly it if there's any sort of wind. And I believe the DJI Minis, which are the 249-gram drones, are a little bit more stable in slightly higher wind speeds. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I do quite fancy one. How often I would use it, I don't really know. Don't know. When are you across, Keith, as well? We need to have another cup of coffee. We need to have a meet-up. Farmer Boy 67. Yes, it's part of the relocation package. Petrol and CCS involved, and it'd be helpful. Yeah, petrol certainly over here. One, the journeys tend to be smaller, so diesel, you really, unless you're going backwards and forwards across the island, there's an awful lot. Diesel just choke up and get problems. But you are quite heavily hammered on the taxation on diesels. Petrol's absolutely great, and if you talk to CCS, they're great. I've never used either. I've been in touch with Peter Morton for bringing the car across, but yeah, I think go through one of those firms. They do an awful lot of the legwork for you as well, which is really worth knowing. There's a lot of people now starting to bring electric cars in. I don't think infrastructure is terrific for electric cars at the moment, especially when you're going between the cities. But there's a lot of people bring electric cars in now. And if you're having a house build done to come in, if you're getting that 300,000 for the new house build, a lot of people are now specifying solar and battery options and things on them because it is well worth it. It's one thing we have in abundance here, 330 days of sunshine a year. We've got lots of sunshine, although it's been a bit cold recently. Daniel, hello Daniel. Good evening. You are looking very well, thank you. Your Cypriot lifestyle is clearly working for you. Hope Sue's recovering well. She is, as I said a little bit earlier, she's doing very well. The Cypriot lifestyle is suiting me, to tell you the truth. I was tasked by a question within the family. We were talking recently, middle of January, about if I was to have to make a choice come back to the UK. And I honestly can't go back to the UK. And it's not that I'm not allowed to go back or anything, suspect. I don't have this huge criminal record that's stopping us from getting in, anything daft like that. I can't go back to the UK. I really, the lifestyle over here has just started suiting me so well. There's so much positive here. There's so much things that I really enjoy. The people generally are fantastic. There's a mindset, and I've said this to a few people when I've talked to them. If you can imagine, there's a few people said you're very brave coming across here. I don't think it's anything brave whatsoever coming across to Cyprus. I don't think it's courageous or brave at all. But I think you have to have a sense of adventure. I think you have to be an adventurous person, and I think you have to have a certain amount of optimism, but to be quite a positive person. Even if you don't show it all the time, I think the core value of being positive and optimistic has to be there. And I imagine, I think of sort of people who are adventurous. Half the population, if you take it an average, half the population are going to be not adventurous at all. They're quite happy sitting there watching the TV, doing nothing. Some people don't even bother venturing outside the house. Where the above average adventurousness, there's a lot of people who are quite adventurous, but there's a big group just above that. It's like a bell curve, like a very tight bell curve, you know. So it comes along and it's up. And there's an awful lot, in my opinion, who are on the positive side of being adventurous, but they don't follow through on it. And they're what I call the place in the sun watchers on Channel 4, the watch place in the sun. And they think, oh, I'd love to do that, but they never do. Well, of course, the people who've left the UK, the people who've come to live in Cyprus or Spain or Portugal or wherever, they're the more adventurous ones. They not only watch a place in the sun, but they've gone and often done it. And I think that means that the majority of people over here have all sorts of personality, but I think that the common thing I've seen is that the majority over here are quite positive people. They are quite optimistic people, and they are quite adventurous people. And I think that makes for a really good atmosphere, because you don't have a lot of the naysayers, you know, oh, it's always miserable here. And when I go back to the UK, of course, I'm surrounded by a lot of people who just look miserable and sound miserable. Not everybody, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the whole UK is like that. And I'm not saying you have to go abroad to be adventurous either. I don't know if you've seen my sister's channel. She's got 2 channels actually, and I'll try and put some details into the description of this later on when I put this up as a video. She's got 2 channels. She has a camper van. They've just got a new camper van, and they've just come back from their first trip into Europe in that. So they've got a channel which is The Good Life. I think it's Thorogood Life, at Thorogood Life, because her surname is Thorogood. But the channel's called The Good Life. And it's all about going off in there as a couple in sort of late working, early retirement age, going off and having adventures in the camper van. She's also got another channel called Dottie's Adventures, at Dottie's Adventures, Dotties, which is a little Peugeot that she's converted into a micro camper herself. If you saw the video when I went back to the UK, there was one where I was away in the caravan, you can actually see the micro camper there. My sister's on that. She's got no intention of living abroad. She's quite happy living where she lives in Middle England. However, both her and my brother-in-law lived in Cyprus for 3 years. I was posted over here with the forces. They had a ball over here, and the adventurous side comes out for them in going off in the van and enjoying themselves on that. So you can be adventurous and stay in the UK. You don't have to go foreign, but there is a certain type of personality. If you get the chance to check Bev's channels out, please do. She's much better at doing videos than I am. But yeah, so I think the general people over in Cyprus, especially in the British immigrant community, the British and Irish immigrant community, but not limited to them. I think anybody who's come into this country is very adventurous. So I think the whole expat overall, remember expat, please don't, no. An expatriate is somebody, an immigrant is still an expatriate. It's somebody who lives in somewhere else other than where they're from, a country other than where they're from. An immigrant is somebody who lives with a permanent intention in somewhere else they're born from. You get it. That's so much hassle on some of the videos of that. But yeah, I think a lot of the people over here are very, very positive. So yes, the Cypriot lifestyle is wonderful. Plus, of course, 330 days of vitamin D does help compared to the UK. And if nothing else, even if I'm going to be miserable, I think I'd rather be miserable in the sunshine than miserable in the rain. Daniel again, unfortunately, Sherry and I are not going to get over this month. It's a shame. Pennies won't stretch to it. That's reality of life, unfortunately. Hopefully over early April or May. Still waiting for a position up on the airbase. My friend Daniel and Sherry, I've seen them a couple of times over here. Really lovely couple. So he's looking to come over and work over here. And get a job. He's waiting for that to come. And once that happens, they'll be across here, and they'll be a great addition to Cyprus. Sue Fenny recommends for mobile networks and broadband. Okay, I got mine quite quickly. Let's get myself settled. I'll have a drink of coffee before I answer that, Sue, for me. I went to CETA, CYTA. As far as I know, and again, all this is on things I picked up. I think all the phone lines are CETA phone lines, but there are other service providers for broadband and for mobiles which go through that. Similar thing in the UK. I think most of the actual lines belong, or when it was the normal lines belonged to BT, and you'd get a service on their lines. So most of it is CETA. So the actual quality of it is very good. I've got CETA in here. There is something I found out about Cyprus, and this again is my opinion, but Cyprus it's an extreme, one thing or the other, but rarely anything in between. When I first came across here, trying to get electricity sorted out, it took me 15 minutes in the electricity headquarters. I paid a deposit, got it all sorted out in my name. It took me 50 minutes. I was in, done, gone. I still haven't got the water put into my name. And the municipal charge, I've just given up. It's still my landlord's name, and I just give him the money for the bill. It's absolutely ridiculous. When it came to things like the broadband, I expected to have problems. Now, I went through CETA. I've heard a few people, different services. They all seem to have a similar sort of speed, but there's some price differences. But when I came over last year, there was a special on the broadband, which give you so much at a reduced fee, like you have in the UK. There'd been internet in here, a normal cabled internet in here. Previously, there was a socket on the wall to put a phone in. The usual thing where you had the little filter box that you had to put in with the phone and the router. But I went into CETA in Kings Avenue Mall, into the shop in there, talked to them. I was in 10 minutes. They got me signed up for an eSIM on the same plan as my broadband. So I still have my Vodafone for my with a SIM card, but they give me an eSIM. So I've got dual on my phone, and also they got the broadband sorted out. I think I have about 200 megabits. I think it's 200 megabits a second broadband. I can't remember the exact price. I think overall I pay about €50 a month for the two. So it's not ridiculous. That's for the mobile phone and the broadband. And that's for limitless use on the SIM as well. So it's really good. I expected hassle. I went in on the Thursday about lunchtime to get this sorted out. They said, "Oh, we'll get an engineer out to check first to see if you can have broadband." So fair enough. I thought, how long is that going to take? How long is a piece of string? So I tend to like to lie in the mornings. I'm not a morning person. I understand. And at 8:30 the next morning, Friday morning, there was a knock on the door. So I went dashing downstairs with my dressing gown on, to be met by a CETA engineer who wanted to check for availability for fibre in the house. I said, okay. He was in 15 minutes. He checked the box outside, came in, checked the actual point that we got on the wall. Yeah, you've got fibre to the house, that's fine. We'll get an engineer out to come and do the installation. That was on the Friday morning. Okay. Right, that's probably going to take another however many years to get. No, 9 o'clock Monday morning, there was a knock on the door, downstairs with my dressing gown on again. There was a CETA engineer who said he's come to install my broadband and my router and things. And he was here, honestly, less than 30 minutes. It was put through, he put a different socket on, he threaded the fibre through from the box outside, through into here, so it's a fibre connection straight into the back of the router. The router was in, tested, handed over, and him gone within 30 minutes. Andy had a cup of coffee, I made him a cup of coffee, and that process was incredibly fast. And it's been very stable and reliable. Upload speed can be a bit variable. Sometimes when I'm uploading one of my videos, it can be atrocious, and I've got no idea what this stream is going to be like. I've got my TV on over there, and I've got my iPad, so I've actually got a couple of views on this, and just to see for glitches, but it doesn't seem to be glitching, which is good. So yeah, the broadband and the mobile phone service, I think, is absolutely superb. Seems to work well. Lots of 5G over here, but there's also a lot of ghost 5G, so it'll come up as 5G on your phone, but you have no internet connection. And I've heard about that in the UK as well. I don't know what goes on with there, but that's about it. So yes, that was for Sue. Farmer's Boy 67, very uplifting shirt for February. Sat here in a hoodie waiting for the rain to stop. I thought I'd put one of my shirts on. When I do gigs, I wear flamboyant shirts. I'm a big guy, so wearing sort of sharp suits and things just doesn't look good. It looks like a sack of potatoes. So I'm not going to go on stage in a t-shirt and jeans or a polo shirt, but I tend to wear an awful lot of flamboyant sort of Hawaiian type shirts and things. I thought I'd put one on. I do like them. I really like being a little bit over the top of the shirt, so thank you for that. Matthew 7327. Not a big drinker myself, but what's your favourite Cypriot beer, Keo or Leon? Do you ever bump into nutters in Cyprus much? Not seen much of them on the channel recently. Okay, hit the beer first. I tend to drink Keo. Again, I'm not a great beer person. If I actually drink alcohol, I tend to drink flavoured ciders. My favourite is pear cider. You can't seem to get pear cider anymore. You get strawberry and lime and fruits of the forest and things. I quite like you can get an orange one, Thrashers or something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but Threshers, something like that. But there's a couple that when I'm singing in the Queen Vic, they have a couple of these ciders. One's an orange cider, and the other one's a black currant. I like them both; they're gorgeous. And other than that, it's Copperberg that I tend to have. So I'm not a great beer one. If I do have beers, it does tend to be Keo, but Leon's just as good. There is a difference in the flavour. I think I've got more used to the Keo over the years, so that would be the one for me. But usually I don't drink that much anyway. I'm driving a lot of the time, and I don't drink before I do a gig. So if I'm doing a gig, I don't drink alcohol before I sing. So that's what is on there. But yeah, I think both of them are pretty reasonable. Do you bump into nutters in Cyprus much? I did bump into Tom a few times. And his family, he's got a lovely family, wife, and I think it's 2 daughters he's got. I'm not sure if Tom is around much at the moment. I know he did a video just before Christmas because he teamed up with another young couple, the Mains. If you get a chance, actually, have a look at, what are the Men's channel called? I'm not being simple. I'm just going to see what their channel's actually called. Lovely couple. I went and had lunch with them today, and really, really nice couple. Let's see if I can find out what the Men's actually, what their channel's actually called, because they really are a very, very nice couple. Where are we? Have we got them on here? I bet I can't find it now that I'm doing it. The usual sort of thing. Whenever you want to do something, you can't find it. But yes, Paul and Tamar Main, young couple, settled themselves down. They've just moved up they're renting up in Paul and Tamar. The channel's called Paul and Tamar in Cyprus, and it's at mains.in.cyprus. Mains, M-A-Y-N-E-S. So if you're doing at MAYNES.in.cyprus, have a search for them. Really, really nice couple. They've come across, relocated to the island, just in the process of selling the house in the UK, and a bit like me, they're just giving their experience. They're not giving, they're not giving super fact. This is a fact. This is what it is. They're just telling you how it is, and some of the problems they've got. The biggest problem that Paul had when I was chatting to him and looking at his video seems to be the fact that he's trying to get his head down to do some work. He works online. His company's based in the UK, so he does some online work there, and it seems to the view out the back of the window is just too enticing. So he's moved his desk so that it's away from the window. What a chore, isn't it? When you have to, when your life revolves around the fact that you can't work because it's too nice. So yes, so Paul and Tamar, yeah, Matthew just got there. Paul and Tamar, really nice couple. Check their channel out. But as for Tom, he teamed up with Paul and Tamar just before Christmas. Before Paul and Tamar went over the Christmas time. I'm not sure what's happening with Tom. I've met him a couple of times. Really, really nice guy. I'll be honest, and if you are watching this, Tom, when I first saw the channel, I thought, that's a bit of a chavvy name for a channel, isn't it? It's a bit of I wasn't too sure about it. But it's Tom Nutter, that's his surname. And I thought, well, if you've got a name like that, why not exploit it on the channel? Absolutely brilliant. Again, really nice guy when I met him. And his family are beautiful. So yeah, Matthew, been following them. They just recently made their move permanently. This is about Paul and Tamar Main. Yeah. And Sue said follow them too. They hit 1,000 subscribers as well. I saw it was either yesterday or today. So congratulations on that. I think they finally got the channel monetized. So yeah, as I said in a recent video, you don't make a great deal of money off the monetizing, but there's something just makes you feel as if you've achieved. Once you reach that point where you do get something come in, it makes you feel as if you've achieved something. How long have I been on? I've been on for a while. I'm going to cut this short in a few moments. One thing I will say about, and I've been asked a few times as well on this, and this was from a good while ago. This is a comment when I did the memberships on YouTube. And I stopped those after not very long. I didn't like the way that it was being run. But I've started up doing memberships on Buy Me a Beer, or Buy Me a Coffee, should I say. If you go on to Buy Me a Coffee, which the QR code, you always see the QR code and things. And to the people who have done that, as I say, you don't make a great deal out of YouTube. It cost me £500 for a new camera because I left the other one on the plane, or I lost the other one on the plane, or it was stolen from me on the plane. I don't know which one it is. I'm not blaming anybody for stealing it, actually. I think it was my fault. But for the amount of money I've made since on YouTube from all sources, since hasn't even paid for half the camera yet. So we're not stinking rich doing it. But it is a welcome income. I've started the memberships up again, but on Buy Me a Coffee, and that's going quite well. But I did get somebody, and this isn't the quote because I couldn't find the original one, but I made a note of it at the time. So basically, you're doing this membership. We've been following you, subscribed since the beginning, and now you're going to be, giving us a lesser service. That's not really on. It's not. I'm doing everything that I would still do, but the memberships. One of the things I'm doing in memberships is a little bit more personal. I'm talking to you personally. I'm looking at the camera, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm talking to a person at the other side. And with the videos I'm doing in memberships, I'm doing a little bit more behind the scenes. I'm doing a little bit more pre-release. So if I do the daily ones, they're very time limited. But things like when I've been doing the lists and things, I've been releasing those so that the members get to see them before anybody else does. Still the same video. But also I'm doing some behind the scenes ones. So for instance, I've just released a video, the uncut version of when Sarah took my camera under the sea at the Blue Lagoon. So about 20 minutes just of swimming under the Blue Lagoon with a DJI Action 4. So those sort of things I'm not going to put on the main channel. And also things like walking around the grounds. I do wear my heart on my sleeve a little bit on this channel. I am very open on it, but there's some things which I just don't want to put out to 4 billion people. Because I think there's about half the world's population has access to YouTube. And the idea of putting out too much of my personal thing most people know approximately where I live and things like that. I don't necessarily need all the populace knowing exactly where my house is to the individual door number. So what I tend to do is I don't put that on the main channel. However, if somebody's paying a subscription a month into my Buy Me a Coffee, they're probably not the sort of person, I'm guessing, who's going to come and try and turn the place over. They've already given me enough money that they're probably not worth doing that. So I give a little bit more personal thing on that. I do a personal message at least once a month to the members. There's 3 levels of membership. The first level is basically just a support. It's an ongoing support. So you can buy me a cup of coffee for anything you like. So however many coffees you want. That's a one-off. Some people have signed up to do a regular payment. So from those, it's actually probably better for them just to do the base membership, which gives a regular sort of £5 a month if they want to, if they want an ongoing one, because then they're going to get let into some of the membership things. But generally it's just a support thing. But there's 2 other levels, and they'll get things like the pre-release videos, but also I'm going to be doing, as I get more members, there's a tipping point where it makes it worthwhile once the membership gets past a certain threshold, a certain number of people, where I'm going to be doing sort of things like Zoom chats where we can actually do 2-way conversations and see each other, and that will just be open to members. And also I'm going to give, although I do answer most people's questions online if I can, I'm more willing to give a much more in-depth personal chat. So if somebody has a question and they're a member, I'm probably more likely to give them a WhatsApp number and say, give me a call, and I'll sit down and chat with them about it. So that's where the membership lies. You can find that, just scan the same QR code that you get for the Buy Me a Coffee, because it's done through that. And thanks to everybody who has become a member. It is interesting early days. I'm enjoying doing some of the stuff from the members because it's a slightly different approach to doing the videos. But thanks to all those. The other thing is as well, while they're still on here, if you fancy giving me a thumbs up and a like for this, that would really be appreciated, because that still helps on this. I've had 104 viewers on tonight, and I'm not sure how many likes it's had. Let's say how many likes it's had. 12. Just a like. It actually costs you nothing. A lot of people have talked to me about, oh, I don't do likes and I don't hit the subscribe button because you don't know what's going on. Like literally is just a thumbs up. YouTube uses these to say, well, people have obviously enjoyed it, so we'll push this video further. The subscribe, I always ask for that. It's a bit of a nothing really, except for the fact that YouTube uses that number to promote you. And people, if they are going to try and give sponsorship to the channel, because these little adverts that you get, these sponsored adverts, they do help. You can get reasonable payment from that, and that makes the channel good. And it's not relying on you to put your hand in your pocket. It comes from the adverts. But YouTube uses that as a way to sell me to the advertiser. So the more subscribers they've got, the more chance they've got of people watching the video. And not only that, it does, you get seen as an influencer, but the more you get somebody of influence, or as I keep on calling myself, an influencer. I've become my own coronavirus. I'm an influencer. So it is important to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything to give a thumbs up. And it doesn't commit you to anything. It just comes up on your subscription. So if you hit the subscription button rather than home button on YouTube, you'll find that my videos will be in there all the time. So if you do get the chance, just give me a thumbs up on there, just underneath the video. Trish, hello Trish. I'll come back to you in a second, Trish. I'll just read Farbat Boy 67. Just subscribe to a new channel. It will follow an expat starting a relocation process on a pink slip route called Cyprus Life. Yeah, Cyprus Life. I've seen that. I'm subscribed to that one as well. Well worth watching. Well worth watching. Seems quite a reasonable guy doing that. So yes, I haven't got the link to Cyprus Life. Trish, hiya Trish. I hope you don't mind me telling. I'm going to tell everybody on here because Trish has been following me on my Micro Four Thirds channel, my photography channel, and she's also doing on this one. Trish lives down under in Australia, and it's been really interesting because she's another expat but living in Australia. And sometimes when I've been making comments on here, she's put some either very salient information when it comes to dealing with heat and dealing with situations and all sorts, or maybe chastise me if I'm doing something a bit silly on there. And thank you for the chastising, because it is good. Trish, obviously, I worry about things like the snakes out here and some of the spiders. I don't have any sort of problem compared to what they have in Australia, so I think I've got it easy on this one. But Trish, I'm really pleased to see you here. Thank you very much for coming on, and I hope you're really, really well. I've had a few good conversations through the back door with Trish in the past, and I always enjoy whenever I see any of the comments from you, Trish. So thank you so much for coming on. What time is it? It's been 1 hour and 11 minutes. I was going to do no more than 1 hour, and it's 1 hour and 11 minutes. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining me on this. I would like to do this maybe initially monthly, but probably try and get this more like a weekly thing. And again, for you, Trish, because I don't know if you saw me, I don't know if you saw anything at the beginning of this, but if you remember, Trish has been on my live streams in the UK when I was doing my Micro Four Thirds channel. And for your information, I am going to start doing the Micro Four Thirds live streams as well. So I'll be doing 2 live streams from here in Cyprus now that I've proved I can do it. I'm just going to grab hold of this, the camera. This has all been done on my Pocket Pro 3, and I've been a little bit worried as to whether it was going to get silly hot. It's been on 1 hour and 10 minutes. Well, it's actually been on more because it was set up for about 15 minutes before I started the live stream. So it's been getting on for 1 hour and a half. It is wonderful. It's warm. It's sitting with a USB lead in, so it's taking a charge from the USB, acting as a webcam. But it really is good. I don't know what you think about the quality. I'm just looking at my iPad, and the quality, it's just room lights. I don't have any really good lighting on here. It's just the little sort of that sort of diameter lights that you get sitting above. So the lighting's not ideal, but the quality actually looks quite good from it. I'm really impressed. So yeah, it hasn't got too hot. It's dealing with it absolutely wonderfully. So yes, if you do fancy doing live streams and you've got a Pocket Pro 3, go for it. And I'm using the DJI Mic 2, which you can see down there. That's why I keep on getting these funny noises as I keep on banging it with my hand, forgetting it's there. And that's streaming on, and I believe that it's synced. If somebody could tell me, actually, just stick a comment down there. Let me know if it is actually synced properly with the visuals. It does suit me, but I can't hear anything. I haven't got the volumes up to stop feedback. But is it synced properly? It seems to be. Eighth Trader, looks like you're gone. Enjoy yourself, Eighth Trader. I know where you are, generally approximately where you are in the world. I hope you're giving yourself a bit of a rest period. You've been flat out and busy recently, so thanks very much for that. I look forward to you coming back again. I do value your company. I do value your friendship over here. So yes, but give yourself and your lovely lady, give yourself some relaxation time and enjoy where you are. And hopefully everything's going well for you. Thanks, Keith, for letting us know it's fine. Trish, we've actually got some of that wet stuff today. Thankful for that. And thanks for the mention. You're welcome for the mention. Yeah, we've had quite a lot of that wet stuff recently, and it's really done well to fill some of the reservoirs up, which is vitally important over here. Sync all good. Nuts and May. Hello, Nuts and May. How are you? Yes, synced. Sue's giving me a thumbs up for that. Former Boy 67, thanks for your time, Brian. My time is quite happily given over to everybody, so not a problem with me. I think it'll be very helpful to anyone with queries. Yeah, let me know, because it's Former Boy 67 that's coming across, isn't it? It's looking back up through there. Yeah, you're the one bringing the car for the relocation package. When you get on the island, if you're not on the island already, give me a shout. You'll find, it's not in the description at the moment, but in the description for the videos, you'll find there's an email address. If any of you are coming across and you want to say hello and meet up, I usually meet up somewhere like Cafe Nero in the mall. That's a little bit of a safeguarding for me and also for you. Obviously, I don't know what you look like. You know what I look like. And it gives you a chance if you think, oh God, I don't like the look of that, and you can depart quickly. But it's a little bit of a safeguarding. It means that you're in a nice public place, and I am as well. But if you are coming across and you want to say hello and meet up for a coffee, I absolutely adore meeting the people on this channel. I've made so many really good friends genuine friends who are viewers of the channel. So if you are coming across and you think, well, should I get in touch with Brian? Just drop me a line. If you drop me a line, then I can give you a contact to get to actually arrange to say hello. Doesn't have to be Cafe Nero, but somewhere public. I always do. But yes, if you're coming across, let me know. I would love to see any of you coming across here. But certainly Farmer's Boy 67, you're more than welcome to have my time, and I'm happy to give it. Daniel, no delay, thanks Daniel, synced fine. I can't get over how good these DJI cameras are. I'm not sponsored, this is not a sponsored video. I wish they would sponsor me. I've got the Pocket Pro 3, the Action 4, I've even got the little mobile, the Osmo Mobile 5 for my iPhone, and the Mic 2s which come with it. They are just brilliant. They just do what they're supposed to do. Matthew, thank you for your time on the live stream. Been great. It's been great with you lot. I'm going to knock it on the head. I'm not going to answer any more. Oh, hang on. Yeah, that's okay. Thumbs up. Thanks very much for joining me. See you soon. I've got more videos coming out. Don't forget, if you do fancy becoming a member, just click on that QR code, or there'll be a link down in the description. But don't forget to give a like and a subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And thanks for being part of Path to Paphos. You are really, really welcomed on this channel by me, and you are so vitally important. Have a good night, and I'll hopefully see you soon. Bye-bye.